set the strategies and programs for Singapore to release a vision to attain the status and characteristics of a first league developed country within the next 30 years. So next year is the year 30. If you guys know anything about Singapore, they have gone from one of those weaker nations to now they have one of the strongest economies in the world. They're probably in the top 15, top 20. They're giants in the electronics industry. Can you guys, some of the names you think about is, I think Samsung is from Singapore. There's a couple more, I just can't remember them right now. But that's what Singapore did. They started building around that. They all came together and they started making laws for that. And they started structuring everything to get them on the path and get them focused into what they needed to do. And they did that through their strategic plan. Some of the things that they did, or the bullet points on their strategic plan, were to enhance human resources, promote national teamwork, become internationally oriented, create a conducive climate for innovation, develop manufacturing and service clusters, spearhead economic redevelopment, maintain international competitiveness, and reduce vulnerability. They started working on each one of those things. They had plans for each one of those things. They set their focus completely on making sure that they met those. And then they, every so many years, they'd reevaluate. And a sustainability plan is not, it is a living thing. It evolves. So as you go through the years, you gotta look at it and see where it's at. And then if it needs to, you guys need to change something, if it's not working, then we change it to move on. So that gives you an idea of that. Chairman's been talking about the whole chunk quite a bit, and I think in every one of his speeches that he's given over this last week, he's talked about the whole chunk. They changed their political model to be able to protect themselves from political upheaval. One of the things they did is he's telling you about politics and business. They separated them. And then they took, for the political side, they made staggered terms. So you're not voting on a whole slate every time, so to speak. And they were three-year terms that they get. Here's one thing that's really, really cool about them. Every year, the council, or the executive branch, votes in a chairman within their branch. So every year the chairmanship changes. So that prevents, a lot of a power struggle that goes on in it. And then they turned on the business end. They got business, a CEO, and some other team members to get involved there. And they were separate from the executives. They had their own power, and the executives can't control that. So with that, they're able to do business freely without having to worry about any kind of political backlash. And now, with the things that they've done, they are in, 13 states? Yolanda?
13, they have 26 locations.
26 locations in 13 states and 3 countries. They're working in Mexico or South America. Puerto Rico, somewhere in South America, and they're working in Iraq, and they're working in Afghanistan. And Saudi Arabia, four different places. And they did all that in about almost 20 years, because they started their plan around the 1990s. How they did that is they got radical with everything that was Ho Chunk. Okay? They straightened themselves out. They restructured everything, and now they're thriving because of that. And that thriving is based on other things besides the things that we look at. Like for most tribes, it's casinos, or for the three affiliated, boy, the oil up there is just going nuts. But we've been listening to Don, and we listened to Ed Hall, or Ken Hall. And one of the things that they have a problem with is all the things that are going on up there. Ken said that they're going from, what was it, about 10,000 people in that area to 500,000. They don't know where to put all these people. My brother works over there. He tells me that when he goes to Walmart over there, you just shop in the boxes, because they can't even get everything on the shelves. That's how many people are in there buying. Along with that, though, comes a lot of other issues. Don was talking about the Mexican mafia that's been causing problems over there, trying to bring heroin in and all that. There's prostitution happening there, and it's to the point where they can't even do cultural stuff without having to deal with problems there. That's the curse of money. That's why I'm saying it doesn't bring prosperity. If you have a lot of money, you don't always have prosperity. You just have a lot of money, and when the money's gone, you're back to where you were. One of the issues that we talk about here is, if we were ever to have all this hit, all this coal and all this oil and stuff for us, I'd be worried about it, because I have a feeling we'd bury quite a few of our relatives in the first year, because they get that kind of money. We don't know what's gonna happen. So our thought is, before that time comes, let's get ready for it. We need to have wisdom before we can have that prosperity. If we don't have wisdom, that money is just money. It's gonna be gone before long. We need to have things in place. From the sounds of it, we'll need to hire at least 100 terror agents to take care of things for us. And we got Bill back there to train them how to be cops. So it's good that those things are happening, but at the same time, we need to plan for it and be prepared for it. Because if we don't, we're gonna walk into a world of hurt. So that's kind of what I wanted to just give you a little bit of a brush on what strategic plan will do for you. Now, Carl's supposed to be here sometime soon, so we'll just give him a couple minutes here, and if he doesn't show up, we'll just go on without him, okay? Go ahead and take a break of 5 or 10 minutes. I know we just got back, but go ahead and take a break. Carl? He's the head of housing. Because he's the one presenting on it. He's our presenter. He's got a business degree too, and he's good at that, presenting, so we asked him. But he got hit by HUD came in, took over on him.
Carl with Crow Tribal Housing. Okay, he's got a program that's going on, self-help program, and individuals with low income and who have kids and everything, who have salary that's not too high. You guys might be able to get into that program, and it's going to be there's going to be a committee. And the individuals who are going to go after this funding will be assessed by this committee, and it's going to be fair and equal access to this help-out program. It's going to be the first help-out program in any country on trust property. So I think that the people that are here need to take a look at it and think about it. It's on every board, corporate board, and everything on April 18th. From I think it's from what time it's supposed to be? Well, I think it's at, it's gonna be here at the college. And, you know, if you have brothers and sisters who might be working and they're living in the house, or they got kids and they need a home and they got a job and things like that, and they're be able to paint and do a little drywall and do a little flooring, this could be an opportunity to buy a $150,000 house for $90,000. And the first pilot project in Indian country is going to be on the Crow Indian Reservation. So, you know, knowledge is power, power is information, power is opportunity and energy and all that stuff. So you guys are here to hear that. And Native American Development Corporation is working with Crow Tribal Housing and the executive branch to make this happen on your property, on your reservation. There could be scatter sites if there's a big overwhelming demand for that. And you guys need to think about that. Maybe you can inform Native American Development Corporation or the individual who's spearheading that. Her name is Staffy Lafferty. And she used to be the executive director for Lakota Fund. And so she's one of the founders on that, and maybe something you guys can think about.
Okay, I'm looking at the flyer now. So, it's called Mutual Self-Help Housing, the Key to Home Ownership. Could be for you. It's April 18th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. No construction experience needed. If you want to purchase a home with no down payment, learn construction skills, reduce interest rates, have an affordable mortgage, work with others to build your own home, rebuild your credit to be a future build, to be in a future build. Applicants need to list everyone in household, 30 days pay stubs for all adults living in the household, 2 months bank statements, a picture ID, social security card, last 2 years of income tax returns, name and address of landlord for past 2 years. And if you need more information, you can contact the Native American Development Corporation, and their number is 259-3804. And this is Native American Development Corporation in collaboration with the Zalaga Housing Authority. So it's a really awesome thing. I mean, everybody's gonna help everybody build their houses, is what the whole point of it is. And in fact, when my parents got a house after being on the list for 17 years, all my uncles and my mom and my grandma and my aunts and everybody, we all helped build it. And it builds pride and ownership because you participate in building your own house. So it's definitely something that if you're wanting a home or needing a home, something to look at and maybe pursue. Yeah. What I understand it from what the chairman's told us is that it's going to be a subsidiary of the tribe. It's going to be owned kind of by the tribe. It's going to be a board-ran corporation, meaning that it'll have a board of directors, and then that corporation of Zalaga Inc. will run all the businesses. No, these are the tribal enterprise businesses, like the casino and the hairpin ranch and what other ventures they're gonna pursue. The ones that the tribe wants to pursue, they'll put it under that, so that it takes that government out of the business. Okay. Oh, man, those are some deep questions. Okay, so the
What's a
LLC.
new business here on the reservation and have to have an LLC?
Yeah, so there's many ways. There's many things about that. What an LLC is, basically an LLC is a limited liability company. And it's a combination of a corporation and a solely owned business. And that's pretty much the only way that the tribe recognizes businesses now is just by an LLC. And all these people that are operating their hobbies out of their house, they're like sole proprietors. Whether they're like an official business, or they're actually, they're just doing it just to make a little money on the side. So it's kind of, like, it's just like you, I'm gonna start my business, that's all you need for a sole proprietor or sole owner. And then the LLC, what I tell people is it's like creating a person almost. You can step into the business and then you can step out. And I really tell people it's mostly for the legal protection of getting sued. So maybe you have a pie shop, me and my example, right? Somebody comes into my pie shop and falls and breaks their back and they sue me. They can't sue, if I have an LLC, they can only sue me for what is owned by the business. If it was just me on my own, my sole proprietorship, they could go after my house and my car and all my personal bank accounts. So that's the difference. It's supposed to be like putting two together, the corporation and the sole proprietorship. So does that explain it? It's kind of a voluntary thing, but we always encourage people to do it. I mean, you could still start your business and operate and do your student business name through the state of Montana, so that the state will recognize you. But if you want to, support the tribe, do an LLC. Yeah. Pies. Oh, I didn't say that, did I? I really like pies too. She's made yeah, banana cream pie.
Niin rahatyö kenkä LLC ääntä. Niin vahatyö. Tää kenkä chihuahua salke na okis ja 24%. The whole world, United States of America, Piedmont of salke. And then Masires Kupel. LLC get new corporation law get new. Then Masires Kupel. Azaps Ojo Jonas Yukta. Cold, you get new Kagata. Not cold, what am EYL? Tasha, EYL. LLC, this called. Like the LLC, well, it could even last year is a compare. Nicole wants to go, but the game you could eat. That's a your audio could go LLC, you. The milk dog, I said, and it got to. They're in itself again. LLC, like now, milk business areas together, not is a wish. As up to protect it out, you could Jerry. LLC, get a kind of business, cook that, cook business DJ. Exu would do now is a wish. A molecule, just someone, his own personal assets. Go, you are the one. There, and then the white gathers. Now, get a book, maybe 50 radio go. Now, bear watch. There, and I said, Lane up by here, you could hit balls. Now, to chill off. Now, Salagis. And then educated students could a bunch of degrees always out here. Bawalak, Bawali, Yakushi. There, and road membership, and road citizens, I'll get Yakushi, Jackie Okal. Cool, all Bawali, Yakushi. There, and Little Bighorn College, the Stalos, could buy his Bawali, Yakushi. Him, now, 5 days of Mawalam, Jim tick tiny. I think it's 15, and I think go not planning and strategy, go Navy to Braga. Now, a Mawalados, now ideas to do it. Now, Absalagis, Alaus, 8 to type it back, 8 to Mawaladu, executive, legal, cool. Have a cone, name Absalagis. A Malashicus, my chickus. I go need Wahushu, a Yakushi, very watch, and cook you. Kahadu. As I say, boy, was bagi mo mga ko. Ya, here ko may rutak biho, but di wa nga sa na biho, di chul ka go ka ye pushe, pero was, ye ta yo kem diru. Asap se cabinet diuji chikyas. Nan diuji to stop to here, wa go ka ba it chase ko dira ye ko tu ka go. In other words, come on over, Layton. Layton, he knows the Crow language now. He's been hearing it at the sweat bath and all that.
I only know when they're cussing at me. I was sure that's what he said, but I didn't see anything like this, so I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go over there or not. I'm still learning it. Like they were saying, Carl has readily not been able to come, so I've got something that I can put up, and we're gonna look at the basics of strategic planning. Now, we went through everything this week, and that's leading up to this. We're gonna see how we need to tie all this in, okay? So, I'll get it up here and we'll go for it. This one wasn't set exactly for this, so I'm gonna go over, or go past some of the things to begin with here. Okay, what we wanna look at is some of the learning objectives for a strategic plan. Some of the things that we're gonna do here is identify the various steps in the strategic planning process, initiate and manage a strategic planning process, determine appropriate tools for strategic planning, understand strategies for evaluation, initiate community support and involvement in the process, develop communication strategies to promote the strategic planning process, identify partners to be involved in the strategic planning process, and participate in the strategic planning process if applicable. It's applicable here. All right, some of these things we've already done. We've been going through it this whole week. We've been learning about some of what we want to put into the strategic plan, right? Community support. That's why we have you guys here, community and students. All week we've been talking about this, and part of the reason that the chairman wanted us to do this is because he doesn't want people to say that this is Darren Old Coyote's plan, as he had said to you guys, or said before. What he wants is he wants the community to come together. We, as tribal people, or tribal, I was gonna say employees, we as enrolled tribal members have a stake in this. Anybody that is a Crow tribal member has a stake in this. We're stakeholders, huh? We're a citizen, yes, we're not tribal members anymore, we're tribal citizens. Jackie taught us that, Jackie O'Cleo. Is she here? So with that, we all have a stake in what's going to happen here. So we're here to voice our opinions and try to get it all together. What is a strategic plan? It's used by community groups, government departments, organizations, and businesses to develop blueprint for action and change. It's a process, or the process should be community-based, inclusive, and participatory to allow for maximum stakeholder involvement and input. Who from our other meetings knows who all the stakeholders are? Who can tell me? Tara, were you here for that? Who else? Anyone involved in anything that's got to do with it? Huh? Yeah, everyone from, if it was a business, it'd be everyone from the guy that's making the iron for the product that you want to make to the guy that's buying it. Everybody in between are all stakeholders, plus the people that invest in it. So for us, some of our stakeholders are us as citizens, legislators, government, the people that supply us with grants or want to come in to help us, they're all stakeholders in what's going on. So, and then our consumers, when we go into business, if we sell coal to China, and China's a stakeholder in this, right? So it's pretty wide variety of people. Each one of them should have the ability to put input into what the strategic plan is. If one person makes a strategic plan for a whole group of people, something's wrong. Because that one person does not know, it doesn't matter who he is, he does not know everything that needs to be in there. That's why we have sessions like this, so everybody can come together and talk about what we need here and what we need there. And we've had some good sessions on that. Benefits of strategic plan. A strategic plan, I don't know why I can't talk today. I must have rented lips. Okay, it defines mission, vision, and values. So remember we talked about before, the vision is the car to get us to where we want to go, and the mission is the engine that drives that car. The strategic plan is the road we want to take. We establish realistic goals, objectives, and strategies. It ensures effective use of resources. It provides base to measure progress. It develops consensus on future directions. It builds strong teams and solves major problems. One of the other things it does that we don't see up here is it communicates focus. If any one of our departments or our businesses or our legislators wants to figure out something that they're gonna do, one of the problems we have right now is we don't have a plan where everybody can come together and say, as long as we stay within this range, that's where our focus is. I've been to meetings, and I don't know how I get to these meetings. I just show up and somebody says, listen, I need you in here. But there's times when I go to different meetings at the tribe, and the left foot doesn't know what the right foot is doing. And then I go over to legislature, and legislatures don't know what executives are doing. Executives don't know what legislators are doing. That's complete chaos at times. When you don't have that communication, even when we were planning this symposium out, we ran into people that we thought were doing the same things. So one of them, even with Cleora, we had to go to the chairman and ask him, are we duplicating services here? And he told me no. He said, you're doing something else. You're going to the community. You're going to the students. Cleora is doing with the tribe. So I said, okay. So he just kept me going, or kept us going on the path he wanted us to go on. So we need that communication to be brought into that strategic plan. Strategic plan is used by community groups, government departments, organizations, and businesses to develop. Did I just read this? Did I go backwards? Yep, I did. It is Friday. So exercise 1 in strategic planning. Introduce participants to strategic planning. Okay, I'm introducing you to strategic planning. Relate some experiences with strategic planning and any best practices. So that's what we've been doing this week. Then we explore and discuss various examples of the planning, and we've done that. Then we look at types of planning. Now, if you think about the things we've talked about this week, people that came here thought, oh, we're just going to figure out how we're going to have business go. There is such a big facet to what is going on with the strategic plan for the nation, the Crow Nation. You've got business, you've got government, but then you've got all the little things in the middle of that. One of the things that we got to look at, how do we measure? What is the baseline? What protects us in accounting for what we do? Out there, they have an accounting system called triple bottom line. And in this triple bottom line, a lot of corporations are trying to go to that. And with that, they look at three things. They look at profit, they look at the environment, or they call it people, and they look at our planet, and they look at human resources and how we treat our people, the people. So there's 3 P's they call it: profit, planet, people. As I looked at that and was getting ready to present it over the last couple of months, I knew that we were missing something. You know, as crows, we always gotta have 4 things. And everything we do has gotta be 4. But as I would look at it and pray about it, all of those things are good, because we are worried about our environment, right? We wanna make sure we have a good environment. We know that we wanna leave things to our kids. And then with the people, we're always making sure, we wanna make sure that all of our family gets to come along in this, and that everybody will be healthy and safe. And the profits, if the profits outweigh, or if all we're looking at is profits, we lose sight of the people and the planet. So that was good. So the fourth thing we brought in for our people, the Crow people, is culture. If we don't have that culture, a lot of us don't want to do anything if we don't make sure that it passes that culture. And we had for instance, yesterday was about the dogs, the trouble of the dogs. And people were starting to get a little bit heated, so I said, let's put it to the test. And we put up on a board back there, people, planet, profit, and culture. And I said, it's our culture, we don't harm the dogs, right? We let the dogs do whatever. But if that dog bites a child, that means one of our people have been harmed, right? And then the dogs, there's certain places where they won't even let their kids go because the dogs are there. And dogs leave a lot of mess around behind them. So they're messing with the environment or the planet. So we've got one positive here where we don't, as culture says, we don't mess with them. Then we got a negative over here because they could bite a child. People is affected, a person is affected. And then at the environment, the planet, there are certain places we can't go. It might as well be just like a toxic pond. Because if we go around them, we're worried that we're gonna get bit, or some of them have scabies, or some of them have fleas, and we're gonna worry that that's gonna happen to us. So, we got 2 negatives, people and planet. And then if we go to the profit side, what do dogs have to do with money? What happens if one of our children get bit? What happens if they're pooping all over the yard and tearing up garbage and all that? We see it all over the place. Somebody's got to clean it up. So we're losing money with it too. So culturally, we don't want to hurt the dogs, but at the same time, we need to figure out what to do with it. So that's how you would measure it. You'd put all 4 of them in there. Which outweighs which? And for us, another one we talked about yesterday was a road, right? Were you here? Yeah. You were the one that went up against it, right? Okay, we're looking at the highway. Flatbed, where'd it go from?
Lovell, Wyoming to Hardin.
Lovell, Wyoming to Hardin. There's been a big talk about that, putting a highway between those 2 mountain ranges. And so we put that to the test. The planet side, the environmental side. If we put a highway through there, it would tear up the environment, and there'd be garbage all over. And we wouldn't want that. If it was people, if we put it there, some were saying that white people would move on there, and then they'd start trying to take that land that's around it. Kind of like what happened, what Chairman was talking about happened at LMB and the museum and all that, where the boundary line is there, we don't know anymore. Planet, people, there are 2 negatives. Culture, where's that going through? Sacred lands. Those are Crow sacred lands. Okay, there's 3 negatives. But what if it brings us in $4 million a year? It's not worth it, is it? Because it's taken out the other 3. So that's how that balances it. So that's what we're gonna, or that's what that's talking about. So the types of planning are strategic planning, business planning, project planning, program planning, municipal planning, and then planning as a profession. There's professional planners now. Bluestone was here yesterday, and they went over to the chairman's office, and I think they've been to the legislature. Once we get this base set, Bluestone would be a good group to bring in. Because they're the professionals, they know how to set this up, or they can help us set it up, right? And then planning functions in other professions. Let's just take, for example, some of the things that are gonna be involved in the strategic planning. Health and Human Services. Business people don't know Health and Human Services, do they? The health cabinet will know that, won't they? So that's where the health cabinet will come in and take care of that part. Just the same, Health and Human Services don't know business. So there's gonna have to be business people, a part there. Natural resources. I couldn't tell you what in the natural resources is what, but there's people that can do that. We have people that can do that, so that's another part of it. So we bring them all together, and they're all gonna have a part in what this, our strategy is gonna be. So now and then discuss how personality affects how groups work together to develop a strategic plan or any type of plan. Personality is important in dealing with strategic plans. If you have one negative person in a strategic planning area or group, that can offset quite a bit of the stuff that happens in there. When you come together as a strategic planning board, we've got to be positive. I mean, that's something we've emphasized. Even our tagline or our logo emphasizes that. Proceeding in a good way. Strategic planning models. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, but we got to keep something in consideration. There's type of organization usually dictates the type of strategic planning. There's nonprofit and there's for-profit. Nonprofit likely focus on board development, management, fundraising, and policies. For-profit will likely focus on profit and strategic directions. Now we're going to have kind of both, aren't we? We're going to have government and we're going to have business. So we've got to find a way to meet those two together, don't we? And both of them to be able to work creatively. Types of strategic planning, we've got basic planning, issue-based or goal-based strategic planning, alignment model, scenario planning, organic or self-organizing planning. Oops, I thought that was going to go into number one. Been a while since I used this. Okay, alignment model is going to be more of what we're looking at for our strategic plan, because everything's got to come together, work together for us. This whole tribe is going to have a strategic plan, and for that, you've got to bring everybody into alignment. If you don't, we're going to be, once again, we're going to be just where we are now, or scattered. Planning the plan, exercise 4, discuss the planning phase of strategic planning by brainstorming some prerequisites needed to undertake the strategic planning process. Okay, that's what we've been doing. Planning the plan requires organizational readiness, recognition of the need to plan, and commitment to the plan. We've had a few people that have been here every day and have been committed to being a part of this. We've had a lot of people come in and out. Not everyone is committed to the whole thing. I mean, there's certain areas where we need to come in. And we don't need to be committed to the whole thing. Once again, we go back to Health and Human Services doesn't need to be in the business meeting. And the business people don't need to be in natural resource meeting. And things like that, all right? Organizational commitment, the board and volunteer commitment, and staff commitment. One of the things that's gonna change with the tribe is the culture of how we do business. And how, with that change, it starts at the top. And as you, as the leaders, start that change, you start making people accountable. If you're not making yourself accountable, and I used an analogy earlier, it's like telling your kids to go clean their room, and you go to walk into your room and you can barely get through the door because all the garbage is on the ground. You've got to be willing to be the one to be the change that you're telling your people to change. Organizational capacity. We've got to look at human resources, staff, volunteers, board commitments or committees, special standing committees, financial resources. We've got to identify budgets and determine our resources, and time. We've got to allocate organizational time and determine realistic timelines. Now after this meeting, we're going to be going into different meetings as the summer goes along to kind of get each area hammered out. So we're going to have to devote more time to it. Reason for strategic planning. We're planning for change. We're planning to renew our structure. We're going to look for funding requirements. These are different types, but I'm just going to point out the ones that we need as a nation. We need a plan for financial forecasting. We need a mandate. We need to build a consensus. We need to improve staff and board relations, and that's staff and the executive board. We need to develop ownership. We need to build community support, and then others. I only told you the ones that we need. We need them all, don't we? Develop ownership. When Jackie Oka was here, she said something that both Yolanda and I caught on right away, and Yolanda just corrected me on something right at the beginning here. Are you a member of the Crow tribe, or are you a Crow tribal citizen? A member just means you're a part of it. A citizen means that you're committed to it and responsible to it. It's almost like the chicken and pig. When it's breakfast time, the chicken is involved because of the eggs, but the pig is committed. Okay? You guys get that? The pig is bacon. He don't just get involved, he's committed. Why do you want to engage in strategic planning? That's a question. A good question. Why do we want to get involved in strategic planning? Affects our lives. Any others? Provides a roadmap. Anybody else? Empowerment, buy-in. All these things are part of what we need to do in this strategy planning. We, as the Crow Nation, in the modern times, have never had a strategic plan. The only plans that we've had is the chairman plans how he's going to get reelected next time. And then we plan how we're going to stay in a job if he gets lost, or if he gets fired, or if he loses. That's the only planning that we do. Now, a lot of people have said, well, how are we going to keep this strategic plan in place? As soon as another chairman gets elected, it's gonna all be changed. We're gonna set it into law, and the chairman is actually gonna change some of the things that the chairman can do. He's given back some of the power to the people that the executive has had, at least since the new Constitution. And when he said that was something that really hit me, because we used to talk about this, and I know most of you that ever wonder about what happens with tribal politics. I don't think any of you guys wonder about that, Dean. When you wonder about that, we used to talk about, well, how it's going to happen is the chairman himself is going to have to do the change, because the chairman himself is the only one that has the authority to change it. And then we get to talking, well, that's political suicide. No chairman would want to do that. So the question was, which chairman do you, or who could we get in there to do that? And we never had an answer. And then here comes the chairman that says, I'm gonna give some of that back. I'm gonna give that power back because that's not good for the people. That's good for the chairman only, or the executive branch. So he's talking about giving that power, putting that power away so that the chairman can't be a dictator anymore. Isn't that awesome? Doesn't that give you guys goosebumps? That's what it gives me. So I'm all for that. But the problem is, we always figured that that would be political suicide because he'll only be a one-term chairman if that's the case. Because everybody will be so mad at him that they'll try to find somebody else to put in there. So keep that in mind. You guys are gonna see the changes that are coming. They're all gonna be positive. But there's gonna be a lot of people that are upset about it because they're saying that, oh, he's not doing that right. He's really messing things up. He's not messing things up. He's preparing us for our future. And if you guys have heard what he was saying about what's happening, and especially the next 11 years, they're trying to phase out. The government's trying to phase out working with Indians. They're getting out of the Indian business, is what he said they told him. So we've got 11 years to get a strategic plan in place, be prepared, and then have some kind of positive return on it. So that when it's time for that to happen, we're not one of the ones that they phase out. The strategic planning process, we plan the plan, we build a strategic planning team. Right now, what we've been doing this week is we've been planning the plan. We weren't here to solve all the answers and come out of here and everybody knows what they're gonna do. What we're doing here is we're setting a foundation, okay? We're setting the base. From here on is where the work is gonna begin. Like this wasn't any work. Strategic planning team, you need a board, a staff, community volunteers. You need strategic planning budget. You establish a budget and identify funding sources. A strategic planning facilitator or facilitators. You identify a facilitator to lead the process. You need planning partners, an internal board and staff. We can't just say, okay, let's everybody go plan what we're gonna plan now. There's gonna have to be follow-up on this, a lot of follow-up. And we're gonna have to work together. We're gonna have to have some people in place that through the summer and through the next year, but within 1 year, we need to have the strategic plan in place. And then from there, we need to start building on it. You need strategic planning partners, internal board, blah, blah, blah. External community groups and government departments and others. Now, with these planning boards, you should have somebody from the tribe, somebody from legislator, you should have community members, students from the college here. All of these people should be involved in that board. You shouldn't have just everybody from one, because if you do, you get lopsided again. Because they all know what they need, but they don't know what anybody else needs. And so that's what we need to do. We need to get everybody involved, and business people. Anybody that owns a business might want to be part of this. You develop a mission. A mission is a core purpose of your organization. It's presented in a clear, short statement that focuses on attention in one clear direction by stating purpose of the group's uniqueness. There are some mission statements that I've seen that you could almost make a book out of them. And nobody knows what the mission is. Everybody within your corporation or your organization should be able, when somebody says, what's the mission of the Crow Tribe? They should be able to tell you what the mission is like that. It should be in their DNA. This is the mission of the Crow Tribe. And they should understand it. It shouldn't be that long, like one sentence, or maybe two. Can we wait? Vision. What is your organization's vision of excellence? And it has to be realistic, not something impractical. We can't say that we're gonna own the moon by 2015. And only Abzala could go up there. And if you're getting moonlight, you gotta pay us 15 cents for every second. That's not practical, is it? However, what would be a good vision for the Abzala? How about to have within, or by 2015, have process in place for healing from historical trauma? That would be a good vision, wouldn't it? Or a good part of a vision. Being self-sufficient, definitely. Being free from government spent money, prosperous. One of the things we always think of one of the problems I always have when I work at the tribe or working with some of the tribal people or the people that work at the tribe is we need to do this. And the first thing is, yeah, we need to write a grant for that. You know, we're always trying to go to the government to get everything we need. We need to get away from that. We need to start looking at that Abzala business. That should bring in a profit or funding that we can use in the government to help with whatever we need to help there. Values. What are the principles, standards, and actions considered worthwhile in the organization? This includes how people treat each other, how groups conduct business, and what is the most important to the organization. Did I say organization? Okay, no, just making sure. I thought I said organization. I'm a little tired. Strategic analysis, environmental scan, gathering of information that concerns the organization's environment, analysis and interpretation of this information, and application of this analyzed information and decision making. Now, this is something that we would have somebody that's more in the professional realm be working with, like Bluestone. I'm glad I got Bluestone. You know, whenever there's somebody wanting me to go work at Pine Ridge, and every time I go to say Pine Ridge, I say Pine Hills. So I was confusing people. What do you go to Pine Hills for? They got stuff to help kids. Developing the plan, strategic analysis. We need to do a SWOT analysis. Everybody know what a SWOT analysis is? We got. Go ahead.
Well, see,
Opportunity. Threats, yes.
SWOT. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
That's right. So our strengths. What are some of the internal positive things about the Crow tribe, the Crow Nation? What does the community see as our strengths? Anybody think of any strengths that we have? Culture. That's always one of the best ones. People are always talking about how we know our language so well. Most of us. I'm still learning. I admit. Then weaknesses. What are some weaknesses in our organization?
Law.
Lack of law. Money. What else?
Professionals, experts.
Professional. Lack of skilled people. You know, we have the most educated people per capita than any other tribe. That's what the chairman was saying. I've seen a list of how many business people we have. It's amazing how many people have business degrees that we don't ever see. Absolutely amazing. So actually, it's not skilled people, it's a lack of being able to use those skilled people or using those skilled people. Attracting people. Opportunities. What are some opportunities in your community or region? What are some emerging trends? What can we look at for opportunities? Tourism. What else? Coal.
Water.
Water.
Wind.
Wind.
Hydro.
Hydro.
Natural gas.
We'll talk about that after dinner. Buffalo. What, somebody was talking about a co-op, Nellie was here. Our two elders didn't make it back today, didn't they? Nellie was talking about farming and stuff, and agriculture is a big one. You know, there's a there's a country called Burundi. They have all kinds of coffee beans, but they have no wheat. They would love to find a country to trade coffee for wheat. So we could send them all that wheat that we don't need, that makes us fat, and we can get the coffee that keeps us awake. That's one way to think about it.
Coffee is the number 2 traded commodity on the market, and number 1 is oil.
Yeah, see that? So we could have a pretty good commodity there if we were to do something like that. And they're looking for a country to be able to do that way. So threats, what are some provincial or national issues facing the organization? What are some threats?
BIA.
BIA, yeah. What else? Huh?
Outside interest.
Outside interest. What was that again? I'm sorry. Oh, white farmers, yeah. Yeah, they tried, or the sugar beaters, they tried to take over the place already. What about what we just talked about? What's gonna happen in 11 years? They're going out of the Indian business. They'll no longer be able to buy and sell Indians. What are some technological issues that face the organization? We have a hard time with high-speed internet here, don't we? That's just a basic one. Think of all the stuff that we need in technology. Just like we were talking, if we're gonna be one of the largest coal producers in the world, why are we not sending people to school to understand coal better? If we're gonna be oil producers, why are we not sending people to school to understand that? Maybe with our coal mines, we might have an idea to develop or to produce cleaner burning coal than anybody else in the world. The analogy I gave was Brazil. If you remember, South America, back in the late 90s, all we hear is 1,000 acres or so was burned every day to make room for new farms. They said they could see those things from space. They could see the fires that that they made down there. And they said every week they were losing herbs, animals, they were going extinct from those fires. So there might be something here that they haven't tapped into and we haven't tapped into. We haven't allowed ourselves to be trained for that. So maybe we could figure something out that they didn't. You know the guy that figured out how to balance the coal bed methane water to bring it back into a good pH that could be used? Lives in Sheridan. He worked on that process, trying to figure it out. And when he finally got it, his company really started moving. He had that company for 5 years and sold it for $100 million, him and his partner. So things like that can be done.
Hey, can I add to that there, Lane?
Yeah.
A lot of the coal executives that in the Powder River Basin, they don't live in Gillette. They live right there in Sheridan. One of the families that was good friends with the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, they own Standard Oil and Valvoline. They live right there in Sheridan. And then also one of the primary families that own Arch Coal, they live right there in Sheridan too. So Sheridan is I think there's like 3 billionaires that live right in Sheridan. Billionaires, not millionaires, but billionaires live right in Sheridan.
He's got a point. There's a lot of money in Sheridan. And guess what? Some of them are wanting to help us. But they want to see that we have a structure before they're willing to even consider helping us. They're businessmen. They see what we're doing wrong, but they're waiting for us to fix it so they can come in and give us a hand. Developing the plan. Goals. Identify long-term outcomes to provide focus for the planning process. What is one of the things we've been talking about? for this week, we've been trying to focus it to positive outcomes, keeping a positive attitude, trying to find good things to bring out. And, you know, we're crows, once in a while we start going into that. We're complaining about somebody, and we get on the pity party, and then we gotta snap ourselves out. We're gonna get back to the business at hand. We can't be chasing rabbits. So we gotta have somebody to help us stay focused on what our goals are. Strategies, we outline how we will achieve our goals. Objectives, we identify specific, measurable results produced while implementing strategies. Okay? Now, the objectives, like I was just talking about that bottom line, anything that we do has to pass through that fire, so to speak. It's got to be able to come out the other end and still be feasible. If it doesn't make it through that fire, then it's not something that we want to do. And if we do something like that, that stops us from going off on a lot of these ideas that never bring fruit. That's a good way to just stop them right there. Okay, goals and objectives should be SMARTER. The acronym this is acronym for specific, measurable, acceptable, realistic, have a time frame, extending and rewarding. Extending, what does that mean? Chairman just at the auction the other day just bought a little piece of property over on the northern end of our border. It was a small thing, about 1,922 acres. That's expanding our borders, or extending. So developing the plan, we need to have implementation. We assign tasks, and we've got to get those tasks done. To various board and staff responsible for specific items. We develop timelines. We need to have a timeline before we leave here today of what we're going to do next and how we're going to do it. They're established for the implementation of the plan for implementation. And then funding of the plan, what is required to fund the goals of the plan. Communicating the plan. How will you communicate the plan to stakeholders? Now we got to remember who's our stakeholders. One of the things that we were doing was passing out leaflets that we tried to tell people, and of course we never ever able to tell anybody or everybody, so somebody always gets missed. So what if we put it on TV, made a TV commercial or a radio commercial, or had advertisements in the paper? So those are things that we'll look at. Monitoring and evaluation, it's critical to our success and credibility that we monitor and evaluate everything that we do. Because if we don't scrutinize it, make sure that everything's going the right way, we'll have ants. How is that? We'll have ants in our pants. It must be built into the plan, the monitoring and evaluation, and it's critical for continuous improvement. And continuous improvement focuses on improving customer satisfaction through continuous and incremental improvements and success. The customer in our case could be us, tribal people, or the tribal citizens. So we prepare a SWOT analysis as part of the strategic planning process. We discuss some tools and techniques to be used for strategic planning. We do appreciative inquiries, effective for changing organizational culture. You know what appreciate and depreciate are? Depreciate. Appreciate is something that increases. Depreciate is something that decreases the value of anything. Okay, it could be the value of what we're saying right now. That is based on a 4D model: discover, dream, design, and destiny. Then we got to look at things like open space technology as a new method for working effectively in large groups, 10 to 1,000 participants. public consultation. Involve public and stakeholders in your planning process. Achieve public consultation throughout interviews, facilitated meetings, open houses, website discussions, and paper surveys. Remember, I said we don't know everything. If we don't have somebody there that's a professional that's keeping track of what we're saying, we might as well just be speaking in the air. Because if we don't have somebody saying, okay, wait a minute, I don't know if you can do that, or why don't we try this instead? They'll help us guide where we're going. Public meetings provides opportunity for input for all stakeholders through open house to review plans, maps, and charts. Facilitated meeting with presentation on what you plan to do. A facilitated meeting on interim and final report. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. And then focus groups provide opportunity to address specific issues, provide opportunity for maximum participation, and provide maximum information in a short period of time. Website feedback. Yolanda's a whiz on that Facebook. My gosh, you don't even get home when I found a whole 3 hours worth of stuff I gotta look at from what she's been doing on website all the time we're busy here. Online surveys, online discussion paper to generate comments. We need surveys, online surveys, community surveys, and they can be developed and administered locally, and we can be conducted by firms specializing in surveys. The reason we do surveys is because we need to know what the community thinks. Whatever community or whatever stakeholders are involved. If we have an idea and we start to plan it, let's just say, boy, wouldn't it be a great idea to sell beef jerky here? And we get on it, we turn up the whole process, we start processing beef jerky and we package it and we spend $1 million. And then we find out they don't like regular beef jerky. They want teriyaki beef jerky. And we've made a bunch of regular beef jerky. So we're stuck with $1 million worth of beef jerky that we can't get rid of. So research, focus groups, surveys, the primary, and then literature reviews is secondary. The focus groups and surveys get us started, and then we go into a literature review. We literally go into a literature review. Okay, I was just joking. And that's where we start researching things. Once we look at the survey and it says, yeah, that could be feasible, then we start looking into the feasibility of it. And then this is where they're talking about the parking lot. Is everybody there? You go to, let's say you go to a church on Sunday and there's only like four cars in the parking lot, but when you go into the church, there's like 900 people in there. You know they didn't come in 4 cars. So what you're trying to assess there is who's all involved and are they bringing everything to the table. And then summary and evaluation. We got to summarize it and we got to evaluate it. And that's it. So that's just a little bit of what strategic planning is about. So as we go into we're about ready to go into our session here, our roundtable, everybody will get involved. Let's keep these things in mind and we'll start bringing them out or write them on the paper. We need to gather this information so we don't lose it. And like I said, Yolanda will be here with her tickety-tackety and she'll probably get everything down on computer before we can even write it down on the paper. So, why don't we, what are you going to do? Thank goodness. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then after that we'll come back and we'll get into a roundtable discussion.